The largest asset managers in the entire world are buying more Lucid stocks. So we saw BlackRock, State Street all buy the dip on Lucid. I'll go over that recent buying. In this video, I'll also go over the recent earnings for the stock. I'll cover short interest. And at the end of the video, I will give you a price prediction for Lucid. So with that being said, let's talk about it here. So BlackRock increased their holdings by 6.7% over the past quarter. We just got this 13F data in earlier this week, so very fresh news. So it's good to see that the largest asset managers in the world are buying more of the stock. Also, State Street increased their exposure by 13% over the past quarter. We also saw Morgan Stanley increase their exposure by 6% over the past quarter. So very prominent and large asset managers are buying more of the stock. We saw Geo Capital Management increased exposure by 12%. First Trust increased their exposure by 12%. So yes, many of these companies are passive indexers, but it's still good to see that they haven't thrown in the towel on this stock yet, which is very important and good to see, because if we saw, BlackRock throw in the towel on their investments, well, that would be a huge negative for this company. So it's good to see that they're kind of still hanging in there and buying more of the stock. And then with that being said, let's take a look at the most recent earnings for Lucid. So obviously wasn't the best earnings in terms of a number here. We did beat on EPS expectations by 22%, but we did miss on revenue by about 21%. But let's talk about the earnings call and the report, really, I should say, in depth here. So Lucid Air Pure rear wheel drive start of production in September and in the process of ramping up production. So this is Lucid's most affordable Air with an unprecedented efficiency of 4.74 miles per kWh. And then Lucid Air Sapphire start of production in early September. Delivery the first set of the cars to customers at a special delivery date event in early October. And then we can see here that the company also had the recent and upcoming highlights. So I'll just go over those quickly. So they had an Aston Martin close the long-term strategic technology arrangement for the supply of Lucid state-of-the-art electric vehicle powertrain, battery systems, and software. Aston Martin issued 28 million ordinary shares to Lucid and paid the first cash installment of $33 million. So important to see that there. And then Lucid's referral program, I thought this was pretty interesting. So they launched in the US to celebrate passionate Lucid owners for their commitment to the brand. So maybe that will kind of drive more buying of these cars. And then NACS charging. So they signed an agreement to provide Lucid vehicles access to Tesla supercharging networks in North America and integrate ports in future vehicles. So like kind of being able to use the Tesla, charging system that just gives these cars more reliability and certainty when it comes to charging, which is definitely a positive. And then Lucid's Gravity unveiled. So they launched special launch event at the LA Auto Show on November 16th, on track to start production in late 2024. And then Lucid also, we can see their lineup here right now. So we can see that they have a, sorry about that, let me just go back to that. So they have a pure car, or that's the name of the car, $77,000, Touring $95,000, Grand Touring $125,000, and the Sapphire $200,000. So in terms of power, definitely, it's the price is pretty is pretty significant in determining the power of the cars. We can see as price goes up, the power also increases as well. And efficiency, though, is actually best for the Pure, funny enough. And this is actually the most efficient vehicle on the US market. And then the most well-rounded vehicle on the market, the most rounded EV, is the Touring, according to them. And the most powerful four-door car in the world is the Sapphire, according to Lucid. And then Gravity SUV unveil in November. And so we actually got that just today. In fact, we got that unveiling of the Gravity. So if we went to Lucid's Seeking Alpha page, their first story is going to be about this car. So we can see that it's not necessarily causing a massive jump in the stock price, but we can see that they have introduced their new SUV model at the Los Angeles Auto Show. The automaker said the 3-row Gravity SUV builds upon the innovations first seen in the Lucid Air sedan to create a luxury electric SUV without compromise. The vehicle has space for up to 7 adults and their gear, and a projected driving range of 440 miles, which is super long. Definitely pretty solid to see for the company there. And then they also touted their vertically integrated production in the past earnings call. So Lucid's core EV technology is not only created in-house, but also manufactured at Lucid's dedicated EV powertrain factory in Arizona, where Lucid produces its own electric motors, transmission systems, power electronic inverters, and the revolutionary Wonderbox and racing derived battery packs. In September, Lucid transitioned general assembly to the Phase 2 factory at that Arizona factory, which houses general assembly, logistics, end-of-line repair, and pre-delivery quality. Also in September, Lucid made history in Saudi Arabia by opening AMP2, the country's first ever manufacturing factory. Excuse me, the country's first ever car manufacturing factory. The AMP2 factory began semi-knocked down assembly of kits pre-manufactured at that facility in Arizona. And then their service network is also growing as well. We can kind of see where that all is throughout the country. And then with that being said, let's take a look at this company's short interest. Also worth noting that they have sufficient liquidity for at least 2025. Thought that was interesting. But let's take a look at the short interest for this company here. So we have 27% of the float sold short, which is definitely a good chunk of the float. We also have 8.6 days to cover. For those who don't know, it basically says that it takes 8.6 days of average volume to cover the shares that are sold short. And then we have actually 0 shares available to be shorted right now. So from a short squeeze likelihood standpoint, this stock seems very likely to short squeeze. Also, we have a 21% short borrow fee rate. For those that don't know, this is basically just the fees that an investor charges a short seller to lend their shares to that short seller. So 21% is actually above the average short borrow fee rate that we see throughout the marketplace. The average short borrow fee rate is anywhere from 0.3 to 3%. So to be up at 21% definitely signals that it's very expensive to short this stock at this point in time. So short interest definitely does imply likelihood of a short squeeze is somewhat high. And then from a Wall Street analyst perspective, we're basically split on Wall Street. So there's 3 bullish companies for Lucid right now, and there are 3 bearish companies for Lucid. So overall, Wall Street is pretty much split on the stock. And then with that being said, let's take a look at the company's chart and give a price prediction for the short term. So personally, unfortunately, I do think that Lucid's going to continue lower. Obviously, that's not what my hope is. I'm rooting for this company, truly am. But it looks like we'll probably see a move up to the 50-day moving average at around $4.90, and we'll likely get a rejection over the coming weeks of that level. So that's kind of my price prediction for this stock. Obviously, long term, if this company is able to succeed, it could go much higher than that. Just kind of making a short term prediction based on technical analysis, and then really, that's kind of my prediction for this stock. So, with all that being said, covered a lot in today's video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you here next time.